The United States is facing rising recession fears as the Federal Reserve, the country's central bank, remain bullish, fighting high inflation, and officials increasingly talk about the need to impose some economic pain to get price pressure under control, several economists told Al Jazeera. There is still a good amount of strength in the labor market, and that's going to allow the Fed to remain aggressive in fighting inflation. Edward Moya, a senior market analyst at OANDA, a New York-based foreign exchange firm, told Al Jazeera, price pressure are not going away. And when we look at energy prices, the downward move that we have been appreciating appears to be over, and it looks like oil and gas prices are gonna be heading higher once again, he said. The Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries and its allies, a grouping known as OPEC, last week decided to cut oil output by 2 million barrels on crude per day. That increases cost not just for energy but everything we do and everything we buy, and so the price of everything goes up, including food. E.J. Antony, a research fellow at the Heritage Foundation, a conservative think tank in Washington, D.C., explained. U.S. gross domestic product (GDP), a measure of goods and services input, contracted 0.6% last quarter after shrinking 1.6% between January and March. The common rule of thumb for recession is two consecutive quarterly decline in GDP. We have already had the recession in the first 6 months of the year. It looks like the third quarter is going to come in positive, but after that all bets are off. I think we are gonna go negative again, Anthony said. Economists have not been unanimous in the behalf as some indicators point to underlying strength in the economy. The US trade deficit narrowed in August to its lowest level in more than a year, and Goldman Sachs last week boosted the US third quarter GDP estimate by a full percentage point to a 1.9% annualized rate. The Biden administration continues to argue that the economy is resilient, pointing to a lowest unemployment rate in 5 decades and unwavering consumer confidence. But nearly 7 in 10 Americans recently said they are worried about a recession, and 4 in 10 said they are financially unprepared to handle one if it were to hit before the end of 2023, according to a poll by Bankers, a New York-based financial firm. So what are the key metrics pointing to? How do economists make sense between plummeting market and resilient labor market, and what does a US recession mean for the global economy? Majority of CEOs anticipate a recession in the next year. More than 8 out of 10 CEOs recently said they anticipate a recession during the next 12 months, according to a new survey from accounting firm KPMG. Out of the 1,300 CEOs at the world's largest companies, KPMG survived. 73% said they believed that an economic downturn will disrupt growth. About 39% of the CEOs have implemented hiring freeze, while 46% are considering downsizing their employees base during the next 6 months, KPMG found, and it is difficult for them to ignore the data. Wall Street has plummeted in the past year. The S&P 500, a proxy for the health of retirement and college saving account, closed the third quarter at its lowest level in almost 2 years. The tech-heavy Nasdaq 100 has dropped nearly 33% so far in 2022, while the Dow Jones Industrial Average has lost more than 20%. Cryptocurrencies, which surged in popularity and price during a pandemic, have also nosedived. The world's top digital coin, Bitcoin, shed more than 60% of its value in the past year, while the second largest cryptocurrency, Ethereum, dropped 61%. US mortgage rate have more than doubled in the last year, locking millions of Americans out of home ownership. We could have had a mild, short recessions if the Fed, Congress and President acted much sooner, but unfortunately now there's a tremendous amount of economic pain that's already baked into the cake. Anthony told Al Jazeera, one of the tragedies of the Biden administration is that they had the benefit of hindsights. They could have looked back at their immediate predecessor and learned from what worked and what did not, but they just continued on with bad policy. Strong labor market are disparate ones. 10 of million of Americans quit their job during the height of the pandemic in what is now widely known as the Great Resignation. Since then, business from gas situation to doctors of offices have struggled to find workers. OAND Moya explained that as long as job openings remain high, the Fed will continue to raise interest rate to make borrowing more pricey in hopes of balancing demand and supply. The Fed is going to be locked in a corner where they have to tighten policy much more aggressively, he added. New data showed last week that the number of job openings in the US plunged by 1.1 million and jobless claims increased more than expected. The unemployment hit a half-century low of 3.5% in September. However, signaling a tight labor market, but not everyone see it that way. I don't see strong labor market. I see a disparate labor market. Heritage Foundations and Tony told Al Jazeera, we have a This disproportionate number of people working multiple jobs, they goes the jobs number, because every time a person work another job, they are counted as another job holder. We have had a lot of small business fail from pandemic lockdown, and if these people go to work for a large uh, corporations, they are now counted in those surveys. So again, even though the number of jobs has not actually changed, the number of people employed, the number in the survey goes up. And Tony said global setbacks, the COVID-19 pandemic and war in Ukraine have caused extraordinary shock to the global economy, the World Bank recently said, warning that advance toward eliminating extreme poverty by 2030 have essentially come to a halt. The number of people living on just $2.15 a day increased 11% in 2020 from 648 million to 790 million according to the World Bank. A US recession would cause deep pain in the developing world. Richard Kozel, Director of Globalization Division at the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development (UNCTAD), told Al Jazeera the UN agency issued a dire warning last week that a global slowdown could potentially inflict worse damage than the 2008 financial crisis and the 2020 COVID-19 shock. If a financial shock in the US is triggered, there is no limit to the downside. The US ultimately had the policy space to shore up both its economy and its financial system if it finds the political appetite for more bellicose. But most countries in the world, especially in the South, have no real safety net, he added. As for emerging markets, OANDAs, Moya said many of them have been aggressive in their fight against inflation, what been killing them in this relentlessly strong dollar. He explained a recession in the US would mean that the dollar's day are over and some relief would be good news for emerging market, but again it is a very fine line. If the US dips into a long period of sluggish growth, emerging markets are going to struggle. Major exports to the US such as China, Mexico and Canada would feel pain if US demand weakened for a prolonged period of time. As for how severe a US recession could be, Moya echoed the sentiments of many economics. Al Jazeera spoke with it still too soon to have strong conviction with the call, just because we don't know exactly how sticky inflation is going to be and how resilient the economy is.